News. We continue with your news at 10:22 a.m. Ex-Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan will meanwhile address a memorial service for Ahmed Kathrada in Johannesburg today. The event, meant to be hosted by the presidency, was postponed indefinitely. However, the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation says they, along with the SACP, will jointly host the event.
A visibly angry Barbara Hogan, wife of late ANC stalwart Ahmed Kathrada, holding forth on South Africa's turning events. She says the memorial was cancelled without consultation or explanation. Hogan also criticized the timing of the cabinet reshuffle.
Some part of a respect. Surely there could have been, in the light of the letter, that this is 1 year that he wrote that letter. Could they have not held off with their dastardly deeds? And this is the caliber, this is the low-down character of the people that are running our institutions at the moment.
And there were calls for the president to step down.
We called on ministers and leaders of the ANC who care about the future of democracy and the Constitution to speak up and call on the president, in the best interest of the country, to step down.
The foundation called on South Africans to take to the streets to safeguard the country's future. It said ministers who were removed would have prevented corruption. The memorial service will take place at the Johannesburg City Hall at 2 o'clock on Saturday. Ndundu Sitole, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Former ambassador to Argentina, Robben Island, will be buried today. He died last week. He, Utenate-born Nkomo, worked with the UN in New York before 1994, campaigning for the implementation of sanctions against South Africa. In 1994, he became political advisor to then Foreign Affairs Minister Alfred Nzo before his posting to Argentina and Uruguay. Robben Island's wife Barbara was speaking following a memorial service at the Department of International Relations out in Pretoria.
I'm not sure how I'm going to redefine it, but I know that I have to forge ahead, as you always said, and continue with many of the ideals of his. And I have always been moved by his total selflessness on behalf of South Africa and his belief and love for the young of South Africa.
Well, South Africa will be able to save 100 million rands over the next 2 years on the treatment of multi-drug resistant TB. The Health Department launched a new 9-month MDR TB treatment course at Bloemfontein's Pelanomi Hospital. And Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi says TB remains the #1 killer here in South Africa.
TB kills more people than cholera, influenza, malaria and HIV combined globally. The Joint United Nations Programme on HIV/AIDS, or UNAIDS, has lamented a lack of political will in fighting this disease.
In HIV, during the last 30 years, we moved from 18 pills to 1 pill. We move now, soon we will be moving from 1 pill to 1 injection every 4 months.
Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi says TB killed 70,000 people in South Africa in 2007. The numbers have since gone down to 33,000 annually. A new milestone is the new MDR TB treatment regimen.
This particular regimen is only going to be for 9 months, which means there's going to be more compliance and there's going to be better monitoring.
Civil society and government leaders have signed the new Strategic National Plan on HIV, TB and sexually transmitted diseases.
This is a plan that is going to catapult us as a country to a higher level of interventions and make sure that we respond much more vigorously against this pandemic.
Leading the fight against HIV/AIDS from the front, the Deputy President and the Health Minister handed out condoms in Bloemfontein CBD. Bhelesi Foundation, SABC News, Bloemfontein.
Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, the KwaZulu-Natal MEC for the Department of Health, has launched his very own foundation, the Bhelesi Foundation, to take care of underprivileged children here in South Africa. Now the foundation was launched on Thursday, the 30th of March, and over 800,000 was pledged by the invitees at the launch. The MEC has completed writing his autobiography as well. And in the book, the MEC talks about his life under incarceration at Robben Island, where he was one of just 2 doctors. Well, for more on this story from our Durban studios, we're very pleased to be joined by the founder of the Bhelesi Foundation himself, Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, the MEC for Health in KwaZulu-Natal. Doctor, what a pleasure. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, my sister, and good morning to all the SABC viewers.
Doctor, first of all, congratulations on launching your foundation. Tell us a bit about it. What are the foundation's objectives and what sets it apart from the ones that are already in existence in the country?
Thank you very much. I'm so delighted that one of the milestones that have always been in my heart for 2017 was the launch of this Bhelesi Foundation, spelled as BHELESI Foundation. This Bhelesi Foundation is focusing on 4 main objectives. The first one being underprivileged South Africans who would like to pursue training in a tertiary institution on health sciences, but particularly confining to medicine, optometry, dentistry, and pharmacy. I could have gone to a bigger pool, but I just chose those because those ones are continuously being the critical and the most shortage ones in the most underprivileged and rural communities. The second part of the Bhelesi Foundation objective is going to look into, strangely, focusing on tertiary institutions for those learners who are underprivileged, who would like to pursue agricultural science, but particularly focusing on crop production and animal husbandry. It's got a background to that. I am a product of that situation. If it were not of my parents having to sell a cow every year for our education, I would not have managed to be a doctor today. Also, my mother supporting him with the crop production, we would have a maize meal bread in the morning, and midday we'll have beans mixed with maize, and the dinner might only be mealie cob. So that kept us going for too many months and weeks without going to any shop, and only to buy soap, sugar, and maybe a few other items. So that was actually a huge savings from a family that did not have much, and therefore that managed us to actually get us to where we are. So I'm saying this is an expression of my past and also a desire that any person who would like to focus on really doing more than just the elementary agricultural science as it was done in my family will get my support, and I would want to see those coming back to support our communities. The third one will obviously be to support campaigns focusing on teenage pregnancy. I noticed this, and even beyond the time I would be an MEC for Health, I would like to support this initiative because we see young girls whose life comes to an end or comes to a standstill because of teenage pregnancy. So campaigns, programs, health education focusing on teenage pregnancy will be one of my main objectives. The last one is a focus on a boy child, modeling after good young men to become a man. So I want to see a boy child becoming a man that has respect, that has got values of the society, that respects the future partners, that respects the families. So all these atrocities, the social ills in the society that we see, be it killings, be it rape, actually probably will diminish if we can educate our boy child in becoming a responsible, respecting men when they grow up.
Very inspirational indeed, Doctor. And you highlight some of the sectors that even the President highlighted as having the biggest skills shortage. But do tell us, how do you then identify your beneficiaries? Are they graduates? Are they children from rural villages? How do you go about making sure that you find the best suitable beneficiaries for this program?
Yes, thank you very much for the information that you have provided. That yes, on that Thursday, the 30th, we collected just over 800,000 rand. Thanks so much to those generous donors, and we are looking for more support going forward. I'm just a chairperson of the trustees, who will then come together and actually decide who are our beneficiaries next year. But I think we'll model from those that are used also even in government, because we don't want to really take much more than we can be able to. So there's always leftovers from when government has given support to mainly children who are underprivileged, coming largely from the rural areas. So we look forward to supporting that type of a situation. We will always be finding children who have actually wanting to go there. The government, at least of KwaZulu-Natal, has got 800 students right now in Cuba alone pursuing medicine. Now, I can imagine we have done so well, but some have been left out. Absolutely. And many more will continue to be left out. So we would like to actually support, and you could imagine with the Bhelesi Foundation, we probably want to do much more than the government, much more than the other foundations that are out there. But we believe in this thinking that if you see a lot of fish that have been washed out into the shore, and all those fish is about to die, take one and throw it back into the sea, and it will have life, and life abundantly. It doesn't matter you are not able to throw all that fish back into the sea, but the few that you'll be able to throw, the one that you are holding in your hand, throwing back into the sea, will get life. And we hope therefore that it is in that spirit that we can always contribute to many other initiatives and many other foundations wherever they are in the country and in the world.
I like that paraphrase there, Doctor. Do tell us maybe now, your foundation launched on the 30th of March. When is the registration process or application process, and how exactly is it going to work, Doctor? Do they come to you, or you identify them at school level?
Ma'am, we already have a website, www.bhelesifoundation.org.za, and also on Facebook it's Bhelesi Foundation, and on Twitter. We will then be actually using that as a mode of contact with ourselves, and it will take off. I know some of those social media and process I've announced have already been activated, but some, like a Twitter, is still coming up. So once that has all been said, that will be our way of contacting those potential beneficiaries. But we'll also be going around, but we are not confining to KwaZulu-Natal, but wherever we go, we will talk about it, and it will come to be known through other programs. Because while I'm the MEC for Health, also I will be talking about this, that government is willing and available to support you on this and that, but we also have other foundations, including the Bhelesi Foundation, that might also assist for those that may not necessarily benefit from any other source, including government resources.
Now, Doctor, does the Bhelesi Foundation only function in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, or are you planning to take it national? And also, when can people go online to start the applications process for next year?
Now, that will have to kickstart as soon as, I think, normally students start applying for financial assistance, including applying for tertiary institutions around June, July. So I think we'll start by accepting and seeing those processes starting in as early as that time, and therefore work on that. It is not limited to KwaZulu-Natal, but obviously it will be confined to South Africans, probably those who are studying within the country to start with, because I don't think we'll be able to fund and support maybe our students who probably be going overseas for now. It might actually be a bit costly. We'll take it from there for now, but it will be nationally accepting all our South Africans to apply to it. Absolutely. It can't be confined to one province, because the support that I got for this 800,000 that is there is support that comes from South Africans from all walks of life and from all other parts of the country.
Doctor, let's talk about that 800,000. You managed to raise this from the invitees that were invited to the launch. Tell us about your future plans for this foundation, and also please go ahead and pledge our society to pitch in where they can to assist those underprivileged children.
This foundation is a support complementing all other programs in the world, all other foundations, all other efforts of government. So we don't see ourselves as the only one, but an add-on to those processes, because as I travel around the province, the country, I see a destitute child and I speak to that child, says, I just need something to give me to actually register. And I see other children. I've already supported some from my own pocket, but I felt maybe I should to take this to a higher level. Yeah. I see this foundation growing from strength to strength. I was actually positively surprised that we got this support on the very first day of our launch of 800,000. I'm going to be writing to some of my friends and who did not pitch up on that day, said, thank you very much, we missed you, but I know if you were there, you would have pledged so much. Are you available? How much are you pledging? And therefore we'll collect it from there. I'm looking forward to seeing, by the time we start giving our beneficiaries by June, July, or beginning of next year, we should have raised this just over R1 million, and then we can start dispensing. So it means this foundation must continue also having other functions, fundraising programs, thanking those who have given us, visiting elsewhere, talking to our potential supporters. And I see that one could even tap on other very well-established foundations. I mean, who knows? You might find that you go and knock on the Melinda and Belinda Gates Foundation, because they also would support some of the initiatives that are embedded on this. They are supporting underprivileged communities, but they are supporting programs that have got an impact on the quality of life of South Africans and of the citizens of the world. When one is looking into a teenage pregnancy campaigns, it is something that is actually one of the biggest contributor to the maternal mortality in our country. Therefore, by reducing that, you will really significantly improve the quality of life. So depending on how one motivates to those other potential supporters, one could get more support going forward.
Doctor, you sound like a true doctor there. I mean, you've also released your autobiography. I mean, when we started this interview, you spoke about your stint in Robben Island. I mean, the fact that you were one of only 2 doctors in Robben Island. Is this the story that we can look forward to when we pick up your autobiography, and where can we find it?
It's not available as yet. Within 2 months or so, I'm delighted to inform you that the University of KwaZulu-Natal, where I was part of as a student, where I joined Umkhonto Wesizwe, and where I came back, among other things, to lecture, and where I came back, among other things, to be the first advisor of the first Vice-Chancellor of a MEC institution, Professor Makgoba, have graciously accepted my book to see whether they could actually publish it, and it will actually be a very prestigious book for me if I were to have it published by the University of KwaZulu-Natal Press, and I'm looking forward to that. So they are busy with those processes. I am almost complete with the autobiography, and the title of the book is Ward Rounds on Robben Island. You see, we as doctors were the 2 doctors there who were conducting ward rounds. By ward rounds, going around from comrade to comrade, from cell to cell, listening to some of their challenges and speaking to them about some of the issues. In that book, I talk about the hunger strike that we had to oversee on Robben Island. And first, it was the first time I was on a hunger strike, but worse, managing it from a medical point of view, where we had to decide who and who must not go on a hunger strike. And we were using our own criteria. They say everybody who's above 65, no hunger strike. Anybody who's on chronic medication, no hunger strike. Anybody who has got a mental health illness, no hunger strike, and all such issues. So it's a very interesting book that I'm looking forward to launch. And my reason why I want this book launched, because my 8-year-old, who's now 20 years old, she asked me when she was 8 years old, Dad, but why did you go to Robben Island? And I said to my daughter, it will have to take a book, my daughter, to give you the whole background why I had to go to Robben Island. So I am actually thrilled that as I look forward to this book, one of our milestones of the launch of the foundation is now behind us. We just need to cement and go forward with it. My next target now is within the next 2 months, launch this book, and I will really start be pushing for it very well, because I think it's going to be educational. I might as well tell you, the University of KwaZulu-Natal has convinced me, and I buy their story to say, because this book is going to be released both in English and the Zulu version. The Zulu version will be free, so that even people on the countryside who can't afford can get it and not buy it. But for you, my dear sister, because you got a bit of money in your pocket, the English version is going to be sold. Of course, not at a very high price, just to sell it to be able to recover this and that.
Let me see. Thank you so much for a lively interview. And of course, best of luck with your book launch. Hopefully, you can sign one for me for free. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, best of luck with the Bhelesi Foundation. That was Dr. Sibongiseni Dlomo, the founder of the Bhelesi Foundation. He's also the KZN MEC for Health. He was just taking us through some of the objectives for his foundation, which seeks to help underprivileged students and children from all parts of South Africa. We're going to take a quick